म्यूट कर दो। नीचे वाला बज रहा है, ये वाला ऑक्स 2
नहीं Good morning, everyone. Welcome to the Game with the Web workshop. So this is basically the front end part where we will learn the front end of the website which we have created. So let's see the workshop which we have created. Sorry for the delay issues. So let's look at the website which we created, and so this was the registration page for our tournament. So as you can see, there are two sides of it. One is like CS:GO registration, and one is for Valor registration. If you are a Valor player, so you can click on the right side, and then you will find out the options and like this. So let's get started with the front end part. So as you can see on the screen, this is this is a software which is called Figma. In this we create UI UX. So first of all, let me tell you what is UI UX. So basically, when a website is created, we have to create a wireframe which depicts basically that how our website should look like. So before making the website, we have to design a prototype so that the developer can understand and can code which should look like the same. So to show the website, to show the design of UI of the website which we created, this was basically its UI. So as you can see, this was the UI of the original game escape website which we created. So let me share with you all how this was created. So first of all, when you'll go on the software of Figma, well, you can also open website of Figma. Uh, you can also use Figma in browser. So you can just type Figma on your Chrome, and Figma will be opened. But since I use Figma a lot, I am using it as a software. So this is how a software looks like. So this is the, like, if you want to create a new design file, here you will go. So I will just click on new design file. It takes some time to load according to your Wi-Fi speed, but okay, fine. So this is the blank, you can say, a folder. So you can name it. So I am naming it Game with the Web, and then you can see multiple options here. So first of all, let me tell you what is above. So this option is called frame and slice option. So basically, what you need to do is, for example, we are making a prototype for a website. So a website usually is of 1920 MB, 1920 to 1080 pixels. So so it we have to maintain that type of frame according to the frame which we want. For example, if we want to make a UI for a MacBook, so we can just select the option frame, and here on the right side we have so many options called desktop, then MacBook Pro 14, 16 and all that. If you want to create for a UI for a phone, then also you have so much options, and you can customize your option also according to the frame which you want. For example, if you want to make a frame for poster, for an Instagram poster, then the resolution for Instagram, then the pixels for Instagram is 1080 into 1080. So on this frame we will work if we want to create a website, if we want to create an Instagram post. But since we want to create a website, we will create 1920 into 1080. So let me show you one thing, that our website was having this kind of feature. That means not only a one desktop, but it was consisting of a single of 3 websites. So it should be in a panoramic view, so that a coder could understand properly what exactly we need to code. So here what I have made is a panoramic view of actual website. The website which is to be coded will be shown later on in this session only, so stay tuned. So let's start with the UI, understanding the UI of this design aspects of Figma. Instead, I will be going more into the developers aspect of Figma, because if you are learning web development, you will be given a website, you will be given a UI on Figma, and you have to work on it. So it is very important for a developer, as a developer point of view, to learn Figma. So for example, if you are given this file as a UI UX, and you have to code this, then what you will do? So first of all, as you can see that as I'm moving my cursor, the page is divided into many parts. So let me explain you what are exactly they. So so what I have selected, this main website, is basically a frame which I created here just now. This is the frame, and all these components inside it, whether small or big components, these are inside that frame. So let me select the frame first. Okay, so on the left side you can see the option layers. So this option basically helps in the alignment of components. For example, if this is frame, and let me set a color for it, red, and then for example, if I am drawing a rectangle on it, let's color it also as green or something. And suppose I want a circle, and that circle I want to be behind this rectangle. Okay, now it is coming above. but I want behind. So what I will do is, in the layer section, I will just drag this ellipse down. So as you can see, the ellipse has gone behind rectangle. So basically the layers what they do is they arrange them according to the way you want to present them. Okay, the very apt example of this is, if you will just consider this part of the UI. This is an image. Behind it, what I have done is I have made 3 circles. Okay, let me show it here. So what exactly I did is I drew 3 circles. Yes, I drew 3 circles and I gave it a color. Suppose you want this color. Basically every let me tell you about colors also. Basically in Figma and in coding part also, every color has a hex code. So if you can look at this color, like for example, if I take red, so for red color this is the hex code. If you'll so for every shade there is a hex code. So let's copy this hex code and add the same color in here also. So all the 3 circles are of same color, and then when I will put an effect which is layer blur, and I will blur it somehow. So as you can see, the layer is blur. Let's add the same picture in it. So now as you can see, this picture is coming above everything, but if we will take it down, it is visible. So that is the work of layers basically. Let's come back to our UI of a website. So as you can see, the logo and all this is arranged in a panoramic view. If you want the positions and alignment, because as we code in CSS, we want the positions. So what we can do as a developer in Figma is that first of all, just assume if I want the position of this box. Okay, basically what is this? This is a box, this is a rectangle of which corners are rounded. So this is a rectangle, nothing less, nothing more. So if we want position of this, what can we do is we can select this, and on the right side we have 3 options: design, prototype and inspect. If you have the editing rights, you will see all the 3, but if you don't have editing rights of the particular Figma file, then you will only have the option for inspect. And when you will go on inspect, you can see all the properties, like for example the width of this rectangle, and then height of this rectangle, how margins are there from top and from the bottom, from left, and all that stuff. For example, if I want to see the color of this part, the properties of this circle, so we can go again to the inspect, and here we can see. Okay, so this color was also this color used was this hex code, and it was layer blurred up to 60%. So this will all be shown in that inspect option, where as a developer you can take the information. Now coming on to the next part, where okay, so this image, if I see, probably if you will just Google any image, like if you will just Google any image of Valorant, you will find. Okay, I think my net is slow. Okay, so I was trying to say that if you will search any image of Valorant, then you will probably find an image with a background or something. But as you can see, this image does not have any background. If you fit inside this, it will blend with the pre-existing background, and this is because this image is in the format of SVG. So image is in PNG and SVG format. Both formats exist, but in coding part, many people love to work with PNG. SVG, like if you don't know how to inculcate SVG, then what you can do is, suppose this file you have got for making the website, then what you can do is you can click on this thing, and you can go to export option. Here you can export it according to whatever you want. either you want in PDF, JPG, PNG, or whatever you want. So if for example I want in PNG format, I will click, I will export, and whatever I want, whatever name I want to give here, I will give the name Valorant game, and I'll save it. And then if I'll see, yes, this image, this is PNG now. This is in the format of PNG. In the similar way, you can download it in whatever file you want, in whatever format you want. So this was it, and okay, fine. So in many cases, you will find besides images, you will find illustrations like this. Okay, let me duplicate it. The shortcut for duplicate is Control D. For that you just have to click it and press Control D. It will duplicate it. Okay, so let's observe it. Okay, so this image, this sword in between is basically an illustration. What an illustration mean is that it is developed like with a pen tool. Okay, so let me tell you what a pen tool is. In Figma, basically in Photoshop, pen tool is much better, but Figma also gave a short form of pen tool where you can edit a little amount of illustrations. So what a pen tool basically is, that you can just make a random illustrations out of this. Like for example, this shape I want to create. So this shape is made. So you can just color it, fill it, and do any kind of stuff with it. So this is an illustration because this is randomly made by a pen tool. In a similar way, this is also an illustration because it consists of several separate shapes. Okay, so how you can inculcate this illustration is, you can okay, suppose this is already group selected by me, but suppose it is not group selected. So what you can do is, you can select all the components of the illustration and you can just right click it, and there is an option called group selection. So what it will do is, it will group select for it, and each and every component will be group selected. So if you'll click on it, it will be selected as a whole. And now what you can do is, you can export the whole thing in the format of PNG, SVG, JPG, or whatever kind you want. So illustrations also you can export, and SVG also you can export. So now let's come to this button part. This button is an image, and this is a text, and this as a whole is a rectangle. So basically all this thing is button. It is not like you can say a rectangle or something, but it is a button which a developer has to inculcate. It is not shown in Figma, and this is the reason, because here it is written play as solo, play as team, team info, and home. So it is assumed already by a UI UX designer that a web developer will think it as a button only. Yes, of course, because it will be a button for sure if we even take a common sense also. So this will not be taken as what I told earlier, like an inspect and all, because this we have to code, actually you have to code as buttons. So so buttons, for positioning of buttons, yes, you can definitely take the help of inspect, but not other things. Like you cannot export this whole thing, because you have to make a button out of it. And this is also logo of Game-A-Thon, the event which we were having. So now let me tell you about how a UI UX is formed. Like for example, if you are not getting any UI design of of any particular website which you want, then what you should do? So first of all, you should study what kind of website you want to make. Like for example, if you want to make a game website, or if you want to make a normal website which is for example selling of a plants or something, so you should always study the type of target audience it will go. Like for example, if I am making a website, a hospital website, for example, a hospital profile, so I know that hospital profile will be used by a lot of people in fact villagers and all those people also. So I will not add a huge amount of SVG or a huge amount of illustrations, because those will take a lot of time to load. And in village areas and all, the internet connectivity is not as good. So so first of all we have to study the target audience on which it will go, and after that only we can decide the type of UI UX we should make. Okay, so going forward, when we will click to play solo, play as team or team info, the further UIs are divided like this. Also basically what you can observe from this is UI is basically to show the developer how website should be designed or created. The designing part is CSS part, and that CSS should be coded with the help of Figma. Figma plays an important role in giving the positions, as you have seen. You can also select it and find out the font type. Like for example, I have used Inter here. Many people use Optima or Poppins. Like the most popular font is Poppins. So if you have it on your desktop, then it's fine. But if you don't have, you can import it also from Google Fonts. And if I want to have as I already told, that if I want to have the dimensions of this, then I can just select it and copy paste from here. I can even copy the hex code that will be used in CSS, which will be told in this session only. So let me just show you all that how the design was made. So as you can see, this was if you will click play solo here, then this type of website will open. Okay, so as you can see, this side is empty, and this is because we have planned to add a video inside it. Okay, so 1 second. Okay, so as I was saying that here the space is empty because we plan to add an animation here, and that animation was in the form of video. So this was the video which we made. As you can see here, the space here is empty, and this is because these all stuffs will come in this side. And this animation will come on the right side, and for that only I have left space here. Yes, we for making the website dynamic and a lot more attractive, we can use animations also in the form of videos and GIFs. So for that I have left the space empty. In the same way here also, you can create your CSGO team if you are a CSGO player, and like you can type your team name and leader information and all, and you can submit it. For example, if you are a player, then you can join a team and that's a part of registration. Let's focus on into UI UX design, and this is where the team info, like if you want to see how many players joined your team, this box. So alignment also plays a very important role. As you can see the alignment here, each and every box is aligned just below it. And for example, if I take cursor from here, so I can see it is 16.4. That means 16.4 is the distance between these two boxes. If I'll take my cursor here, it is showing 235. That means distance between this and this is 235, and this distance is 16.4. So even the distance between the two boxes is similar. This is because of the better alignment. The better alignment will help to look your UI more better and more interesting. So the same web page is for that Valorant form. And 1 second, the for Valorant, the animation was this. As you can see, the animation is on the left side and the boxes which is created is on the right side in the similar way as CSGO form is created. So yes, this was the UI. This was the UI explanation. The design aspect of UI is huge and it is a separate topic that should not be covered in this because this is a web development workshop. So let's continue with the HTML and CSS part, and for that my friend Shan will take over. So
Oh, I guess am I audible right now? So my teammate actually explained the UI and UX design of this website, which is this, and here you can see that every element is confined within a box. So the basic concept of creating a website revolves around creating several boxes and then styling them. So now we create a specific box layer by a div tag. So let's create a div tag and let's write anything over here, right? And if I save it and if I go over here and actually open my main page, I can see that this appears. But now if we actually style this in a CSS file, let's refer this CSS file for example, and let me create a new text file. Let's set the type of file to CSS and save it as main page dot CSS. I would like to replace it, yep. And also to actually access a div, we actually want to classify a div into various classes and give them some identifier so that we can refer to them in the CSS file. So let's classify this as a random class and let's save it. And over here I can access the class by clicking on dot and writing the name of the class, which is random class in this case. And this is the basic syntax of writing a CSS script. And now let's change the width of this div. Color, background color to, let's say, blue. If I save it and if I run it again, I can see that there is a blue box of 40 pixel and this is our div. So now for this website we are going to make several divs and then we are going to style them and then we are going to add some functionalities using JavaScript. So now I've referred the CSS file through this link, and this is the basic template of the HTML file. By these I basically added the font to be used in the creation of the website. and these all things are pulled from Figma directly. So first of all, let's start off with the head tag, and let's give the title of a web page. The title would be Game Escape, which was basically the name of our event. And now the head tag, the work of the head tag is over. And let's start with the main body right now. Wait a minute. Yep. So inside the body, first of all, we have to understand how does the page is started. So basically, if I look at the page, this was the page that we created. If you click on this pane, we are shifted to the right side. If you click on this pane, we are shifted to the left. So first of all, to implement this, what we are actually doing over here is we have a landscape image which we pulled from Figma, and this image is stored and by the name of frame69 in our resources folder. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to put the entire image in our website, and then I'm going to translate it to left and right with respect to different shaders. And as soon as we click on the shaders, we're going to be translated to the left side or the right side respectively. So now, first of all, I'm going to import that particular image, which is you can import images by the image tag, and the source of the image is resources slash frame 69. And if I close image tag, and if I give some IDs and classes to the image tag, I would like to give the ID as background image. So by this, we have actually induced an image to our website. So if you look at this, this is our website for now. But we don't actually want this. We actually want to style it and actually position this div. So for that, I'm going to head to the CSS file. And in the CSS file, I'm just justifying all the contents to center. And after that, I'm aligning the items to the center. And then I'm setting a margin of 0 because I don't want any margins. Same with padding. And say by any unfortunate circumstances, any element, it surpasses our boundaries, and we don't want it to be get messy. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to simply hide the overflown elements, and this can be done by the overflow rules sheet in CSS. And then I'm going to set the background color to 03011 BFA. This is the color that is basically pulled from Figma. And then I'm going to set the font family to the required font family, which is outfit. Sans serif. Here we go. And then I'm actually going to position the background image. And to access the IDs of the div, we have to use a hashtag before the name of the ID. So the background image, I referred it, and I'm setting the position of the background image to be as absolute. I'm setting the top indentation to 0, and for the left indentation, you all can remember that I was telling that we are actually going to translate or animate this entire image. So I actually need some value to which we can actually indentate. So for that, I'm creating a variable in the CSS script, and variables in CSS script can be created by using double hyphens. So I'm creating a variable called show value, and this variable is nothing but a simple maths calculation. This also is pulled from Figma, and it's almost done. Here we go. So we have this value of show value, which is a variable in CSS. So I'm indenting the left orientation of the background image to this particular variable. And also we are creating another variable called the main page, and I'm initializing its value to 0, and we'll actually change the value of main page in the JavaScript, and I'm referring this main page in the left indentation. Here we go. So yeah, and then I'm setting the aspect ratio of this image to be 3140 by 1024. And after that, I'm gonna set the height, which is nothing but 100% of VH, and then I'm gonna set the Z index. So as Santoshi or my previous teammate told that there are several layers to a UI or UX design. Z indexing is nothing but specifying to the layer the image or the element belongs to. So let's say there is an arbitrary element with a Z indexing of 1. That element will actually cover any element with a Z indexing which less than 1. So for now, I'm setting Z index of 0 because I want every other element to cover the background image, as we don't want it to be the main part of the website. So now I've actually created a CSS script which will actually style the body and the background image, but I actually want to create a JavaScript to implement the sliding features and all. So for that, let me create a new file, and let me set the file type to JavaScript and save it over here. So in the JavaScript file, first of all, I'm going to create a variable called background image, and I'm going to basically induce the background image from the document to this JavaScript. So for that, I actually have to use document.getElementById, and inside this we have to enter the ID's name, and the ID's name was background image. So now this variable will contain the image, which was frame 69. That we have to translate, and I'm going to create another variable body, and this element will contain the body of the entire document. Body. And before I proceed further, I have to specify that in order to actually implement this JavaScript, we have to specify it in our HTML, and that could be done by the script tag, and I'm adding a source of the script to js/mainpage.js. Yep, here we go. So now back to this JavaScript. I'm actually I want to center the page and the image as soon as the page loads, and I want this thing to be done in every 100 milliseconds. So in JavaScript, you can actually call a block of code in a specific time interval. For this, you have to use the setInterval function. It's a pre-built function, and over here you have to write a script of code which will basically be executed in a set amount of time. So now I want that styling of my body should orient itself in about 100 milliseconds, and it should be centered. So I'm gonna set the property of the main page variable, which I just specified in the CSS script, and just wait a minute. This will actually affect the client width and the inner width of the background image. So I have to specify background image dot client width minus window dot inner width into 0.95 by 2 plus pixel. This is nothing but it's basically centering the background image, and I want to do it in a time interval of 100 milliseconds. So here we go. So now let's view our web page for now. This background image is actually like set, but it's a little bit off. So like we'll try to fix it in a later half. So now what I'm gonna do is, if you look into Figma again, I also have like two panes over here. Like one pane is for Valorant and one pane is for CSGO. And if I want that, whenever I click on the Valorant pane, my website should translate towards left, and whenever I click on the CSGO pane, the website should translate over to the right side. So I'm going to implement it now. So this can be achieved by actually creating some shaders, and shader is nothing but just a div. So I'm just giving a class called an ID called shaders, which will be very easy to like specify in the later half. shaders, and inside it I'm gonna add two panes or two divs instead. The first div will be into the class shade, and its ID will be nothing but CSGO shade. Let me close this div. And the second div will also be classified under the class of shade, and it will have an ID of Valorant shade. So now I've basically created two panes, but now I have to actually style them. So let's head over to the CSS script and begin styling the shaders. So first let me refer to the shader ID. Over here I'll basically set the display of it to flex, and not flex box, flex, and I'll basically set the flex direction to row because I want each element to stack in a row format. And then I'm going to set the position of it to absolute, and I'm going to set the top margin and the left margin, which is nothing but 50%, minus 50%, and wait a minute, and minus 47%. The width of these shaders would be 200 cent, and the height will be 200 cent, same. And then I'm gonna add a Z indexing or a Z index of 0, and then I'll actually rotate the shaders by 30 degrees, because in Figma you can see that this actually has a tilt, and this tilt is nothing but a tilt of 30 degrees. So for that I'm gonna click on transform, rotate 30 degrees, not 30 degrees, or negative 30 degrees. So here we go. And then I'm actually gonna modify the shades. So let's reference those. Display type to flex, and I'll set the opacity to 0.7 and the height to 200 cent, width to 50 of 000, which is nothing but black. And then I'm gonna add a Z index of a very high number, let's say 100, because I want the shader to cover all the elements in my web page. So now, as you can see in a web page over here, I want that whenever I hover over to each pane, there is a slight animation, the opacity reduces to 0. So let's go with that. So I'm referencing shade, and I'm mentioning an event which is hover. And what's going to do, it will set the opacity to 0. So basically this means that whenever you hover over any shade, the opacity of the respective shade will turn to 0 from 0.7. And I don't want it to be a clip through animation, instead I want to be a smooth transition. So I'll just mention the transition duration of 0.5 seconds. So now if I go over here, I can see that my work is sort of done, but not completely done, because we have actually not centered the image. So in the JavaScript, what I want is in every, like whenever, as soon as the website loads, I want that it centers itself to the middle position. So I'm gonna use another set interval function, and I'm gonna say that window dot scroll to 0,0. Wait a minute, 0,0 in the interval of 0 seconds. So this does the job for me. So here we go. We have the shaders in position along with our background image. So now we actually now have to add the functionality of the website moving towards the left and right. So for that, we actually have to animate these things. So let's create a function in JavaScript, and let's call it Valorant show. And it will respond to an event, and what it will do is it will basically animate the background image, the styling of the background image. So background image dot style dot animation. Now if we look to the documentation of JavaScript, we can see that the animation, it actually requires a keyframe, the duration of the animation, and the direction of the animation. So first of all, let's specify the keyframes. we have to specify the keyframes in CSS. So like, let's start. Let's comment keyframes over here and specify the keyframes. Now keyframes can be specified by using the @sign, and then I have to actually mention the name of the keyframe. So let's add my first keyframe. Let's call him activate Valorant. Over here, what I want this to do is I want to translate whatever element which that is being called over here. I want it to translate to this specific position, and this specific position is nothing but the variable that we declared in the CSS script in the starting of it, which is this value. So I'll just refer this variable over here, show value over here. Yep, here we go. And then similarly, let's create a keyframe for the CSGO pane too. So activate CSGO, and now I'll translate all the elements to left is equal to 0 pixel, because I want to translate it to right. So for this should do the job for us for now. So like, let's create the animation of Valorant. So now I have to specify the keyframe. So the first keyframe was activate Valorant, and then I want to specify the duration of the transition. Let's say 0.25 seconds, and the direction, which is forwards. And here we go. We have created an animation, and now we actually have to call this function. So what we actually want is, whenever you hover and click on a particular shade, we want this page to translate over to the left. So for that, I'm gonna refer it as document.get element by ID, and I am gonna call Valorant shade. Wait a minute. Yeah, on click Valorant shade whenever this shade is gonna be clicked. And for like specifying the click, I have to add this on click command, and then I'm just gonna call Valorant show. So let's see what happens. Okay, nothing happens for now. That's all good. Okay, anyways, let's move on to style some further stuffs. I'll come back to this later. So similarly, we can create an animation for CSGO. Just wait a minute. CSGO show. This will respond to an event, and dot style dot animation activate CSGO 0.25 seconds forwards. So yeah, okay, if we look at the HTML side, we have specified the shaders in the end. Alright, it's all fine. So now what I'm going to do is, I'm actually going to style this particular button, and as you can see that this button is enclosed within a rectangle or a div, and we have two other small divs which will contain the image for the logo and the Gamescape or event logo. So let's go with that. So let's head over to the body. After this, I'm going to code the buttons. So first of all, let's create a div and name it under the ID of club logo. And inside this div, I'm just creating three other elements. The first will be nothing but a container box, club logo background. And after this, I'm going to import two images. The first image will be from resources tag logo. This is the logo for the club, and I'm going to classify it under class is equal to logo or tag logo. So like, whenever you're actually specifying classes, if you enter a space, it will basically mean that you're specifying it under two classes, logo and tag logo. So you can call or refer this particular image by using either of these. So after this, wait a minute. I'm gonna add another image which is nothing but the Game Escape logo. So I'll just import it from here. The Game Escape logo.svg, and I'm gonna classify it under logo, and I'm gonna give it an ID of GS. Here we go. So and now after this we're gonna basically style these. So let's get into it. So for styling, let's refer the club logo ID, club logo over here, and over here I'm gonna set the Z index of it to 0, and just wait a minute. Along with it, I'm gonna set the position of it to be as absolute, and apart from it, I'm gonna set the display to flex. Yeah, and justify the content in a space between manner. Wait a minute, space between, here we go, and align the items to center. And I'm also going to add a background color of BD3944. It's a tint of red which is basically used for Valorant. And I'm going to give it a top index of 50% and a left index of 53%. And now I'm going to translate it by negative of 50% and negative of 50%. So after this, I'll set the padding of it to 0.5% and the height to 5% and the width to 10%. And I'm going to set a border radius of 100 pixels. This is because I want that to not be a rectangle but instead a cylindrical sort of structure. So this border radius will be applied to, basically if I zoom it in, this is the radius of the circle and this is the border. So basically there's the radius of 100 pixels between this and this. So yeah, here we go. And I'm gonna hide anything that overflows this particular boundary. And after that, I'm gonna edit the club logo background. I'm gonna set a Z index of -1 and the position of, wait a minute, position of absolute. Along with it, I'm gonna set a top margin of negative 50%, same negative 50%, a width of 200 cent and a height of 200 cent. And now actually if you look at the Figma file again, there is a gradient over here. This is a linear gradient, one side there is yellow and the other side there is red. So I'm going to implement it over here. So for that, I'm going to add a gradient to the background image and set the gradient as linear gradient, and I'm going to tilt that gradient to 60 degrees or negative 30 degrees if you want it that way. And the first color will be EBAA29 and the second gradient will be BD3944, and I'm going to divide it by 50%, and here we go. So if you look at the web page right now, there is this sort of thing which appears right now, and we can actually add images later. So for setting the images, I'm going to set the logo and set the height as 37%, and then I'm going to refer the tag logo class and set the height, wait a minute, I'm going to set the height of tag logo class as 37%. I'm going to set the logo specifications of the logo class later over here. Sorry for that. Logo, yeah, the height will be 100 cent and the width margin of it will be 5 cent. So now if we look into it, we have these icons placed precisely. So now we have implemented all the necessary stuffs over here. But now actually what I want to do is whenever you click on the pane, I want this particular element to translate over here. So for that, again, I have to specify some keyframes. So let's go back to the keyframe block again. Let me scroll it down a little bit. Yep, here we go. And let's add a keyframe called go to top. And what is the want to do is it's basically going to set a position for this element to go in the top side. So I want any element which is specified under this keyframe to go to, sorry for this, a top margin of 5% and a left margin of 81%. And I'm going to create another keyframe. Let's call it go CSGO just for fun. And now I'm going to translate any element under this to a top of 5% and a left of 20%. And in the JavaScript file, we are going to add these animations over here. So let's get into it. So I'm gonna fetch this particular element, get element document.get element by id, and this is nothing but the club logo element, and I'm gonna animate it with respect to the keyframe called go to top in 0.2 seconds in a forward manner. If I'm not wrong, it's done almost. Yeah. And this is to be done in under, yeah, we are almost done. An animation does not require these parentheses, so yeah, same over here. So let's see what happens right now. If we refresh the page, basically our web page shifts towards the left and this element moves from here to this particular keyframe. So now I'll actually implement the same thing in the CSGO part too. Activate CSGO instead, and I'm going to use equal to sign over here. It's basically the same code over here, and instead of go to top, I'm going to click go CSGO. Let's go. So now there is a slight issue over here. Whenever you click on the right side, we see the movement of the page and the frame is exactly as how we expected, but this particular shader creates a problem because the shader stays. We want the shader to go as soon as we click. So we're just going to add another animation with respect to the shader over here. So I'm going to just fetch the shader from here, document.get element id, and the id will be shaders, and I'm going to select its display to none. What this will do, it will basically remove all sorts of shader whenever I click over here. So now if I click over here, the shader vanishes, and this is exactly what we want for now. And now we can see that we actually need some of these elements. So like if I zoom out in the Figma page, we can see that we don't have these particular elements over here. So for that, I'll actually add them over here. And yeah, so now I have to code the buttons right now for HTML script, and let's do that now. For the buttons, I'll create a bigger div that will have an ID of button container. As the name suggests, it will contain all the buttons, which I'm going to demonstrate over here. Inside it, I'm going to create another div, which is a class called container, and the ID called CSGO button container. Let's not do CSGO button container for now. Let's do the Valorant part. So let's create an ID called Valorant button container. So we have created a div over here, and now I'm gonna add an image, and this image will be nothing but an image from my sources file folder. Wait a minute. Source is equal to resources slash Valorant background logo over here. Let's go. And then I'm going to refer it under the class of Valorant background logo. Let's make this fee smaller for using the data hub. And now let's create the buttons. So we have created the logo of Valorant, and after that I'm going to create a div which will be classified under the class of game escape button. Over here I'm going to create different buttons. So now buttons are a little bit different from div. Their positioning and styling will be similar as that of div, but they'll have different functions. Buttons are actually clickable and they direct you to some other page or to a different part of your own web page. So now we can create a button by the use of the button tag, and over here I'm going to give the ID called solo value. This is for the solo registration of Valorant. Solo value over here. After that I'll classify it under the class of join Valorant button, and inside it I'll just type play solo, and then I'm gonna reiterate this button 4 times, and over here the ID will be team value, over here it will be info value which will direct to the team info page, and at the last it will be home value. And I have to change these text over here. So like instead of play solo I want it play as team. Over here I want to check the team info, so team info, and in the final part I just want to head back to home. So I basically created the buttons for Valorant, and I'll do the same thing for CSGO. And also one more thing, after adding all the buttons I'm gonna add an image, and this image will be nothing but the image over here. If I zoom in, you see this image. This is the image that I'm gonna add. So the image will be imported from Valo button logo over here. Yeah, and it will be classified under GS logo. So yeah, and now I'm going to clone the entire thing for CSGO. I'm going to create another Gamescape button, and before that I actually have to create a container called CSGO button container. Okay. Alright, so I messed a little bit over here. I have to move all these texts a bit over here. Yep, here we go. So now if I copy this and paste over here and change this to CSGO button container, so now I have to change these IDs over here, solo value to solo CSGO, team value to team CSGO, info value to info CSGO, and home value to home CSGO. And actually I have to change this over here. Now the new button will be wait a minute, the CSGO button logo over here, and the classes of this would be not join Valorant button but instead join CSGO button. Wait, not basically, it will be join button CSGO. So now I have I've created 2 buttons, like these buttons and these 4 buttons over here. And now I actually have to style them. So let's head over to our CSS script. And for styling our buttons, it's a bit lengthy process over here, so like let's start. So first of all, I'm gonna, you know what, like actually I have a pre-written script for this CSS, because we have the basic understanding of scripting CSS, and these styling one element is nothing but like a redundant process of like doing the same thing over and over again. So let's over to the pre-written script that I previously wrote over here in the CSS part, main page.css. Here we go. So over here we can see that these are the classes that were referred in our HTML file. So when we refer to the game escape button, I'm setting the position to relative and the display to flex, and setting the flex direction to row, and these are the specifications of height and width, and these are the specifications of the margin, and this one too. Yep. And then I'm going to change the parameter of the GS logo class, and I'm going to set the position to absolute, the specification of top and left margin, and I'm going to translate it to this particular point, and I'm setting the height to 150%. For CSGO logo, I'm setting the position to absolute, the top margin of 0%, left of 40%, translating it to this particular point. Same with Team Valorant, Solo Valorant, Team, and yep, it's the same thing over and over again. So now we are done with the buttons, but now we actually want to like animate the button. So like as soon as we click, we want these buttons to actually come along in our page. So let's copy this particular CSS script over here, and let's get into the JavaScript. So when we go it over here, we can actually animate by setting an interval. Basically I'm setting an interval because see, we can easily make the elements appear, but like they'll go instantly. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna like call these elements in every 200 milliseconds. So I'm setting an interval which will basically call this particular script, document.get element by id Valorant button container, and I'm gonna animate it to this keyframe, which is show forms in 0.2 seconds in a forward manner. Wait, I use the parentheses again. Yeah, and show forms is another keyframe that I created in my pre-written script, which is right around here. Basically it will set the opacity to 1 from whatever the opacity was. So now I'm gonna do this in every interval of 200 milliseconds. So I guess we are done over here, and if I click over here, this animates over here, and there's some switches stuff going over here. Alright, it's all cool. So I actually have to write the script for CSGO too, so like let's do that. Just copy this stuff and paste it over here, and this is CSGO button container. Alright. And apart from that, we actually want to animate the logo and the button, so let's do that. I'm just gonna rip it from my pre-written script over here, which is right around JS main page over here. Yep. So by this script, what we are doing is, like for Valorant, wait a minute. Yeah, we actually have to set an animation for this button to change their colors too. So let's do that. Document dot get element by id, and I'm gonna get club logo background, and this I have to animate. So style dot animation, and I'll animate with respect to color value in 0.2 second in a forward manner. And color value is another keyframe that I created over here. Wait a minute. In the CSS script, which will basically translate it to left. And for now, let's just remove the stuff for the CSGO buttons, which is actually creating a mess over here. And if I go on the website again, it will basically remove the shaders and it should color this particular element. Okay. So if I rip the entire thing from here, we can see the things which are happening in the Valorant part. Yeah. So over here, we're actually animating the club logo to get on top, and over here we are actually animating the color to change its color to this particular color, and then we are actually animating the club logo background, which is nothing but the container of the logo. And the same thing is going on in the CSGO part. So now there's a slight confusion over here. All right. Animation and element by ID. Three nine four four. So this should do the job for us. Yeah. So what's happening right now is whenever I'm clicking over this side, the color of the entire container is changing to this red color. And if I add the script for CSGO, it will happen the same for CSGO. And now I actually want to code the buttons right now. So let's get into it. So now I call Valorant shade over here, and I'll basically call the forms as soon as I click on the right pane. So for that, I'm going to fetch all the buttons. So I'm going to click, wait a minute. I'm going to click over here, document.get element by ID, and the first ID is solo valo. All right. And then we're going to call it on click, and this will create an event which will basically refer another web page that we'll discuss right now. And this is referring window.location, and I'm just going to refer another web page. Ref is equal to solo, Valorant solo dot html. By this we are basically creating one dynamic website. So I'm just scrapping this part from here. From here, let's go. Yeah. So we are done with this. So here we go. So now demonstrating the web page that we have created right now. Sorry for the disturbance. Yeah. So this is the exact website that we have created by now. So whenever we are clicking on the right side, these all four buttons are appearing, and if you click on this particular HTML should open, which is loading right now. Wait a minute. There's some issue over here. Okay. So let's try to fix it over here. So over here, I can just see in the main page JS. Okay. I have to refer the HTML files instead. I've referred the normal file name. Okay, cool. So over here I have to basically write HTML in every file name over here. Yeah, dot HTML. Alright. So now this should work. Just wait a minute. If I dispose the port by the live server and start it again, yeah, here we go. Current create team. Alright. Okay, because I don't have these files. Alright, so let's scrap the files from here. I'll just go back over here and the code along part. Yeah, wait. So yeah, as soon as we actually open click on any of the link over here, this sort of page should open over here, a form. So basically, right now I'm going to tell you how to create a form in it by using HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. Basically, JavaScript is not used over here. It's basically just some HTML files and CSS files. So let's get into it. So this is the Valorant solo.html, and this is referring to a valor.css script. So let's grab it from here. So first of all, I'm going to import the video that I'm actually using for this particular animation, and for that I can do by using the video tag, and I referred this under the class of frame. I clicked on autoplay. Autoplay is nothing but whenever you click on the website, this video will play automatically, and I've muted the video and I've looped it. And right now over here I've done some inline CSS styling. So I've set the position to absolute, top margin to 0, left to 0, z indexing of -1, width to 100%. And then I've added the actual source for the video, which is Valorant animation.mp4. So now let's create the forms. Now for creating forms, there is another type of tag in HTML called the form tag. By the form tag, we can actually create form and link them to a backend. So here, let's create a form tag over here. And this form will actually refer to Valorant Solo, and the method of it will be post, and the ID is form. Now these parameters are completely dependent upon the backend, and we will cover our backend in the next session. So like follow us for updates for that. So now under the form, I am gonna add a heading which will basically say play Valorant Solo, and I'll create another div within the class and classify it in the form field. And this will contain an input tag. The input tag will be classified into the ID of full name. It will have the name full name. It will have the type text, and it will have the placeholder full name. Placeholder is nothing but the actual text that will be displayed inside the box. So like if I pull up Figma over here, the things which are written over here is basically placeholders. So I'll just clone this part again and again to create different forms for registration number, the mail ID, the rank, the Discord ID and the phone number. And I can also set these required fields to like specify that these fields are required and one cannot submit the form without like filling those fields. And in the end I'm going to create a button, that the button's name is submit, and as soon as we click submit, this the entire information written on the particular form will be stored in our backend. And like that we can actually proceed to for the create team Valorant web page. This is nothing but the same thing, like I just change the name of the forms, and over here we can see that I've added the same video and we have created several forms for it. And the first heading is create Valorant team, and then I have created several form fields which will input nothing but the team name, full name, registration number, email ID, rank, game ID, Discord and phone number. And apart from it, it will contain another button which is join team, which will actually allow the user to join another pre-existing team. And over here I've done some inline JavaScripting. So this is nothing but like it will get this particular element join team, and whenever it's clicked, a function is called event, and here I've defined the function. It will refer the entire thing to another web page which will be fetched from the backend. And at last I've created the submit button. And similarly there is a web page for team info of Valorant, and right now just give me a moment. Oh, hello. Sorry for the interruption. So yeah, let's get back into the VS Code. I was just informed there was some minor technical issues, so I'm just explaining the entire JavaScripts of those 4 buttons right now. So for that I actually have some pre-existing code over here in the website demonstration, and over here in the main page HTML. So basically I've created these buttons for Valorant and CSGO respectively, and these buttons are nothing but these 4 buttons over here and these 4 buttons over here. For that I basically proceeded to the scripts of this. So let's refer to the CSS scripts over here, main page.css. So now let's take a look. So basically these are the CSS scripts for each particular button, and they are very synonymous and redundant, so that's why I pulled it from a pre-existing code that I wrote. So now this is nothing but I have specified the border radius of such things and a top margin. I transformed and translated to 0.-50%, and I've set the position to absolute. And then I've created the same thing for team value, info value, home value, and the similar things have been done for CSGO. And after that I've actually implemented the change of opacity of these buttons by the JavaScript over here that I just wrote. So just wait a minute. what exactly this thing will do is, whenever you click on that specific team info button or respective button, it will redirect you to another like reference, and in this case the reference is the Valorant solo homepage, the form page, and in this case it's the create team form page. And as soon like this will be done for the CSGO part as well, and here we go, like we basically like made buttons that will direct you to different web pages. So now whenever you click on, let's say, play Valorant solo web page, this web page will open. So now I'm just going to demonstrate how to create this kind of web page, which will take input in forms of forms, and it will store it in the backend. So now let this particular piece of code that I wrote over here, Valorant solo. So over here, first of all, I've imported a video, and this video is nothing but the animation video which is running over here. So let's take a look at the specifications of this. This video is classified into the class of frame. It has autoplay enabled, so like whenever you start the website, the video will play again. It's muted and it's set on loop, so it will loop again whenever it's finished. And I did some inline CSS styling over here. I set the position to absolute, the top margin of 0, the left margin of 0, the Z indexing of -1, and the width to 100%. And then I've added the actual source of the video, and this wraps up the video tag. And now coming to these actual forms. So first of all, I've created a form, and this will direct it to Valorant solo. This is for the backend purpose, and to get more knowledge about backend and all, we have another session planned for you in the upcoming weeks. So like tune up for us. And this has an ID of form. So under that, I've created an H1 tag, which is basically the text which is being displayed over here, play Valorant solo. And inside it, I've created a div which is classified under form field, and an input tag which will basically take input of the name, and it is classified under the ID of full name, and the name is called full name too, and the type of the form input is text, and the placeholder is basically the text which is actually pretty evident over here. This text is coming over here, it's called the placeholder. So it's called full name, and this is a required field, so you have set it to required. And I've cloned the same thing again and again to create different form fields of registration number, VIT mail, rank, in-game ID, Discord ID, and phone number respectively. And I've set all of them to a required format, so like one cannot submit the form without entering all the like buttons. So now after that, I've created a button which has a name submit, and it has a type submit, and the form is basically directed to the form. And whenever I will submit, all the information written on the particular form page will be redirected to the backend part. This wraps up the Valorant Solo's HTML, and as you can see that a CSS file is actually linked from here. So let's view the CSS file. It is nothing but we have set the background like image of the body, and we have centered the body. Along with that, we have set the specifications of the form class, and over here this is the text color of the H1 tag, which is nothing but this particular play Valorant solo text over here. And then we have basically specified and adjusted every other class that we have like discussed over here, and these all things are actually pulled from Figma. As you can see, if you go over here, this particular frame of Valorant, we can see that as soon as we click over here, we can actually find some design prototypes over here. So like from here we can fetch all the details. So like let's see, we have the position and the color along with the shadows and all. We have basically fetched all the information from Figma, and similarly I've like directed all the basic specifications of different buttons or divs or elements of the HTML file. And after that, I've created this Valorant create team page, which is nothing. It is basically a clone of Valorant solo HTML, but with a different with different names of the fields. So like over there I had play Valorant solo. This is create Valorant team instead. And now I have different form and input tags of team name, registration number, name, VIT mail, rank, game ID, Discord ID, phone numbers, and all. And apart from the everything that we have discussed in the Valorant Solos HTML, I actually have another button which will basically direct you to the joint team web page, which will be fetched from the backend. Over here, I have included a script which basically does that job. I have created a button called join team, and I have written the join a team text over here. And whenever we click on that button, we'll be directed to another web page which will be fetched from the backend. And here I have closed the script tag, and then I have created the button tag, which will basically submit the entire form to the backend. And now coming to the team info Valorant HTML, here I am creating this particular web page over here. It is nothing but a big div which will create the name, contain the name team info, then another relatively smaller div which will contain the name, enter team's name, and then a form and then search button. So now coming to it, over here I have in my body tag I have a logo. So also we actually have to create a logo. So if you look over here, we have this particular logo over on the top right side. So now this is basically created by a bunch of divs and spans. Spans and divs are almost I can not say the same thing, but like we can say that div whenever you stack up divs, they stack on top of each other, whereas spans can like stack in a row format. So inside the div which is classified under logo, I have created two spans. The first span is nothing but the tag logo, and the second span will contain the game escape logo, and I've set the height and width of them respectively, and this wraps up basically a basic logo. And I've also referred a CSS script of team info Valorant. So over here you can see I've set the background color to this particular color, which is nothing but a tint of blue, and then I've set the colors of headings and all. And coming to the HTML again, over here I have created another div which is classified under heading, and it will contain the name, the text team info, which is nothing but this particular text. So now I have created another div which is classified under query, and here you can actually enter the team's name. So like enter team's name over here, and then I have created a form, and this form is classified under form box, and the action is fetched to team info Valorant in the backend, and the method of it is post, and autocomplete I've set it to off, so like it won't save the information in the other user's cache. So now I've created another div which is classified in the search field, and inside of it I've created a label which is team name, and input ID team name, and the name of team name, and the type of it is text. And then I've added a button search, and this search button will basically search the information from the backend. And looking to the CSS script again, these all things are fetched from Figma. They are so like we have the styling for the buttons, the logo, and we have also added an animation or whenever you actually click over the button. So like whenever you hover over the button, like this color transition will take place, and the entire transition will be covered under 0.5 seconds over here. And this basically wraps up the three main pages that are involved in our website. And for the CSGO side, these pages are basically cloned over to the CSGO half, and just the color theme is changed from red to yellow. So I guess that's about it. We have covered the construction of the main page along with the construction of our children page, which are basically solo creation team, solo registration, team registration, and the team info for Valorant. And CSGO, it's basically the same thing, which is copied again and again. So here we go. This wraps up the session for today. Thank you all for joining in, and hope you all come to the next session, which is planned in the upcoming weeks. Tune for that.